Hello, in this video I'm going to talk about a book called Grit, How to Keep Going When You Want to Give Up by Meadows. When I was reading the book How to Think Bigger from the same author, I also got this book for free, and because it wasn't really a big book, I just said I'm gonna go through it and I'm gonna read, and I found it very interesting. So I'm here to share with you whatever I learned and whatever notes I took, because I took a lot of notes again, and we're gonna see what we're gonna get at the end. So let's just dive in and talk about every chapter in the book. So the first thing is there is a piece of advice from every successful people that they never give up on their big goals. So if they have a big goals, they never give up. And we should be always remember this. If you have a very big goals, there is no reason or there is no enough excuses to let you put down your goal. And also the author is really trying to explain the meaning of grit in this way. The grit means basically keep going and doing your task despite the fact that you don't have enough IQ or your character is not ready or a lot of external factors which trying to stop you. So whenever you see any of them and you still keep doing it and keep doing whatever you were doing in order to get to your goal, this is the meaning of grit from the author perspective basically. The first chapter is about should you even keep going? And in order to do that, you need to ask 3 questions. First thing first, are you doing it because of you have all the things you've already invested? Second question is why are you doing it? And the last question is you need to ask yourself if you still have the enthusiasm for the goal and also the process of getting to that goal. Before answering to these questions, you also need to know the idea of DIP, D-I-P. So a lot of times when you start something in the first few weeks or first few days, you see a lot of improvement and feedback, which are very good. So if you think of the curve, so you see a lot of feedback, which is very good. You get interested, and then for a while there is no improvement. There is no really you don't see enough result, and this is the dip. And then that's the moment a lot of people give up because they say, "Oh, I don't see any more result. Maybe it doesn't work," and they stop. But these things are very fundamental, and while you are in the dip, you are actually building a lot of fundamental and experiments and get ready for the next step, which is again going up and see a lot of more results. So the first one of the thing is to knowing the concept of dip. And coming back to the last 3 questions is if you're doing it because of the things you've already invested, so you need to give up. If you don't have enough energy and you don't want to put your best but you want the best result, also it's better to give up again, according to the book. And if you don't have enough passion for your goal, also give up, because you're going to give up sooner or later. So it's very important to know when to give up and why should you give up. So you need to ask those questions, and if you really think you don't have enough reason to do your goals or do your tasks in order to get to your goals, it's better to give up now because there will be less losses. So it's one of the key things if you are setting a goals, and it's very important to know when to give up, because a lot of time we do it because of society is asking us to do, or we have promised someone to do it, and despite the fact it's not really any beneficial for us, or we don't have enough energy, we don't have enough time, and it's probably a brave decision to give up if there is no value in the task or if there is no joy in the task. The next chapter of the book is about routines. The author is really trying to explain you should have a fun, small, achievable, realistic goals. Or we have also have the idea about SMART goals, which I'm not really going to talk about it. So, but the idea is your goals, you should build routines, but your routines should be very small, fun, and easy to do it. So they should be very easy. And then he's also talking about the mental toughness. So, and also in the book, he's really trying to explain there are like some ways of making or building this mental toughness, which I'm not really going through all of them because the review would be very long. In the next chapter, the author is trying to explain the concept of trying too hard. A lot of people give up because they are overwhelmed or they're doing a lot of things. And it's an art to be able to delegate tasks or just delay them or not do everything that you think is cool, because they're not cool. They will take all your energy and you're not going to do all of them, or you're not going to do none of them. So it's when you try too hard, this is the moment you really need to be worried, because being overwhelmed is one of the reasons that a lot of people give up on their goals. And also a rule of vital few, which is really nothing but the majority of things are not really adding value to you, but the minority of bringing the majority of the result. So which is again the same of 80-20 rules, which you need, probably everybody knows about it, or if you're not, it basically means 20% of your products bring 80% of the revenue in your, for example, business, or 20% of the tasks you do are bringing the majority of the result, majority of the outcome. So it's also important to know when you start a goal, you don't know what is really going to happen when you do those tasks, and you do a lot of this. When you're going to achieve your goal, you need to do a lot of things, and you don't know most of them. And in another word, is unconscious incompetence. And also, you also have the conscious incompetence, is going through your goals and you're doing your task, you realize that you didn't know a lot of things. And this is the moment that majority of people give up, because when they see that they need to do a lot of things in order to get to their goal, that's the moment they get overwhelmed with a lot of unknowns and they give up. And in order to not give up in this stage, is that you need to always remember the 80-20 rules, or the rule of vital few, which is also, I just explained a few seconds ago. So you need to know this is the majority of the result is actually coming from the few or minority of the task you do. So you need to identify them and really focus and put all your energy there. And also make sure you just always remember, of course, the society and a lot of people believe busyness, being busy, means being productive, which is another myth. And it doesn't really always, it's not always the case. By being busy, by doing a lot of things, it doesn't mean you are productive or you are really doing very good. So you always need to remember and also identify that minority, or the small number of tasks which actually bring value to your life, or bring value or put you in the same direction through your goals. So you always need to know this one, and not just keep yourself very busy, because this is the myth. And a lot of people think by being busy, by being overwhelmed, by being everywhere, they're productive, which the fact or the truth is really opposite. It's not really like that. So it would be better if you just take a lot of breaks and re-energize yourself. A lot of like athletics and a lot of these elite peoples are actually saying that 4.5 hours per day is the most, well, it could be also different for some other people, obviously, but the majority are saying this is the maximum hours that they can be productive, and they're going to get the most of the result from this 4.5 hours per day. So the more you do it, it doesn't mean you're bringing values or result to your goals or to your company or your business, whatever you do. So the next chapter is about how you sabotage yourself. And in this chapter, the author is really trying to explain a lot of reasons that we sabotage ourselves because of different reasons, and how we can overcome through them. Obviously, it brings a lot of examples and go through a lot of different steps. That's why we're doing it. And I'm going to go through some of them. But if you want to know more, you can just read the book and understand why they're doing it. But one of them is basically when you think you control yourself, then you sabotage yourself. When you think you're very good at controlling yourself. The next things, for example, is when you believe that the current state that you are in is very good, and your current state of your affair is good, then it makes it more difficult for you to change, or it makes it more resilient for changes, for changing the state, because you believe you're doing very good. So the next thing is when you have low confidence on yourself, or the other one is the fear of unknown. A lot of times we don't know what is really going to happen if you take this path, and it might actually, maybe in reality, is very simple and there is really nothing to do, or it's small things to do, but because of unknowns, we are sabotaging ourselves and we're not really taking that path. because of unknown, and unknown is usually fearful. There are two main reasons why people give up: stress and adversity. And by building a psychological resilience or developing psychological resilience, you're going to overcome to these two reasons. And if you can develop your psychological resilience, you will be better on not giving up on your goals. And what is psychological resilience? Is flexibility in response to changing situational demands and the ability to bounce back from negative emotional experiences. And also, reframing is another way to develop or build up your psychological resilience. So what is reframing? Instead of thinking about problem as something that prevent you from achieving your goal, you can turn them into opportunities to grow. And if you really think about it, reframing is the most important factors and the most important skills to be more optimistic. Think about everything happened to you and change them, or think about them in as an opportunity, is literally nothing but being optimistic, or think about it in a positive way. In the next chapter, the author is talking about strength, and it's trying to explain that strength is not coming from winning all the time. So if you win the game, it's not about the strength. So it's your struggles that develop your strength. The struggles is the one which build up your strength or make you stronger. And in this journey, you need to always remember these common mistakes. First thing is, be aware of unrealistic expectation. So do not expect a lot of things or unrealistic things from yourself. Everybody is limited. We have a limited time, limited energy, and limited resources. Do not have an unrealistic expectation. The next common mistakes a lot of people do is discounting slow progress. Slow progress is still a progress, so you shouldn't really ignore it, because it is one of the steps to get to the final steps you want to be. And it's good to just always remember them and identify them and also celebrate them. Why not? And also, he believes the ability to adopt the new situations is one of the most important skills of being resilient. And at the end, he finished the book by sharing some techniques about how to not give up. So the first one is about, don't do it for money. Just add another reason next to the money and believe about what you're doing. The second thing is about, have a bulletproof answer about why you're doing it. So if anyone asks you why you're doing it, you need to have a real answer. If you ask yourself, why am I doing it? You also need to have a bulletproof answer to this question. Also, an ounce of prevention is much better than tons of cure. Nothing hard comes easy to anyone. Maybe the importance is the journey. The journey is the important, not the destination. And the last thing is about, whatever you want in your life is out of your comfort zone. It's very obvious and it's very powerful sentence to finish the book. So I enjoy reading this book. It was a very, I would say, quite short book. It was 50 pages, I believe, and a lot of notes to take, and a lot of, again, like the other book I reviewed from the same author, How to Think Bigger. It was a recap of a lot of self-development and obviously doing a lot of probably notes from successful people in other books. So it was an interesting book to read, and I took a lot of notes. I enjoy reading this book. I really recommend, if you have some time, it doesn't really take that much of time, you can read this book. So please don't forget to subscribe and like the video if you enjoy this kind of book reviews and book summaries. And I'll see you next time.